Okay, with Joaquin Hernandez, Sadie in the Summer Serve is the screenplay. It's about a rising tennis player. Really interesting script. I've seen you around. You've written a lot of scripts. Though, how many scripts have you written so far in your life?
Well, if I want to give an accurate number, about 12 of them so far, but only 5 of them are complete. I take every opportunity to make progress.
So tell me about Sadie in the Summer Serve. Are you around? Like, do you understand? Do you like? Did you grow up, or are you still in like the tennis world, the world of tennis?
Well, to be honest, I've only taken one tennis lesson at a particular club. It was totally worth the $100 I spent for it.
So what made you? What motivated you to write about the world of tennis then?
Well, if you have there are very few films that focus on sports these days, and I wanted to write a screenplay that slightly de-emphasized it to favor the drama behind it. And the central theme of Sadie in the Summer Serve is personal growth and integrity against nepotism and psychological warfare.
I like it. That's sort of like that's the American way, though, isn't it?
Yes, that is true, but this is really all within one central setting.
Okay, so it's interesting that you just brought that up, right? Because if you think of sports, sports is like the last kind of voyage of like if you're good, you play. Like if everybody who plays in the major leagues is the best baseball player, right? And so you kind of assume that, right? That there's no nepotism in sports because it's pretty black and white. Either you're great or you're not that great, right? But you kind of talk about nepotism in the tennis world, which I guess is sort of like there's an elitism. You have to be certain wealth to have the sport. But explain what you're talking about.
Well, this particular tennis club allows other members or non members to compete, but there's a very specific system even in outside the world of major sports. The
So
more,
what do you
the
mean by that?
more, well, this particular screenplay, the more wins you achieve, the stronger your chances are in this smaller tournament that's for locals, not
Yeah.
just elitism.
No, I understand. But so basically, but you figure that the best tennis player will rise to the top, I guess, right?
Yes, that is correct.
So tell me about like what. So do you know these characters? You know this world of like the Foxbridge Athletic Club?
Yeah. It's fictitious, but
Yeah.
the entire behavior, the characters that behave the way they do, is real.
No, but in like I'm talking about from your experience. Like how did you get the motivation and or the insights of these characters in this script?
Ah, that is a very good question. And the truth is, I, I simply took inspiration from other pre-existing sports dynamics within characters,
Like, give me an example.
like Luca Guadagnino's Challengers. Now, in that particular movie, it starts. There is a smaller tournament at a within a smaller bracket, whereas contrast that with the larger U.S. Junior Open. See that
Oh, in like in the world of tennis. So then, but then you see in the last like 20 years, like there's like obviously the Williams sisters kind of came out of nowhere, right? They you kind of think there's a lack of elitism, I guess, right?
yes, but I figured it can be dialed back and put in a setting that is more open, more inclusive to local players or anyone who has a membership to Foxbridge Athletic Club.
Yeah. So you are you a sports fan at all?
I am actually. I could go on, but I'll tell you three specific sports I focus on: the NBA, the NFL, and I'm going to consider starting following hockey
Why are you going to start following hockey?
because I don't follow it as often as football or basketball, and
So
there's so
you're in
much
Illinois.
going
I'm
on.
assuming you're a Bears and Bulls fan.
That is correct.
Yeah. Well, it looks like you got some future good years ahead of you if with the Bears.
Yeah, that is, of course, con- other conflicting opinions could beg to differ, but the facts are yet to be established.
Well, I'm just using the math, right? I'm like a big Bills fan, Buffalo Bills fan. Have good quarterback, have good team. That's basically what happens in the NFL.
That is, I have read that. Yes,
Yeah, and you have a very good quarterback.
yes. As of the upcoming roster, as of today's roster and this upcoming preseason,
Yeah. No, but here, what I'm saying, you must have been excited about last year, though. They had a good year,
yes,
Com- especially beating the Packers, where they had some
yeah,
problems for the last 50 years beating them. Yeah,
yeah.
I should say 60 years. But yeah, since the Lombardi years of the 60s, they've had a problem beating the Packers. So beating them twice, once in the playoffs, once in an iconic regular season game, probably made you happy. One would assume.
Yeah. And if we may move on, if I want
Yeah.
to summarize this whole screenplay in 2 words,
Yeah.
competitive romance, because there is a romance subplot in it.
So tell me about that. Tell me about I like that competitive romance. Tell me about
Well,
that.
well, two of the central characters, Sadie and Samuel, they are a couple, but the antagonist Carmen is the ex-girlfriend of Samuel, and I have I have since slightly lowered the age of the characters to be just recent high school graduates to ensure the drama thrives better. I originally wrote them as young adults, but then the decision came to make them recent high school graduates
Yeah, well,
in their final
it kind of
summer.
fits into the tennis prodigy kind of age, I guess, too, right?
That's the word,
Yeah,
prodigy, which would accentuate the nepotism that is illustrated.
yeah. There was a what was that movie Wimbledon with Paul Bettany and Kirsten Dunst? That was a tennis
Yes,
romance to it too, didn't it?
yes, and just like Challengers did too. But you can, if you think about those two films, you'll see that how very few films involve tennis than there are about basketball or football in the sports genre.
Yeah. So yeah, tennis is an interesting sport, right? Because well, it's an individual, right? So it's easier to film. It's hard to film a team sport or kind of get multiple characters interested. So you're kind of rooting for this Sadie character all the way through, I guess, right?
That is, yes, your summary is correct.
So what other screenplays have you written? Like what other
Uh, I am I am so glad you asked. I will
yeah.
tell you 3 of them. One is called Green Juniper, which is where a Harvard student becomes a plant manipulating superhero. You could compare that to the Social Network or Venom, but
Okay.
I would say if Poison Ivy went to Harvard,
Okay. Poison Ivy went to okay, not the plant, but the superhero character.
yes, the superpower to control plants.
Yeah. Okay.
Another one, this is my most recent one, it's called Rigged. It's like the Fast and Furious, except it's in Seattle in the Pacific Northwest, and but specifically Tokyo Drift, because the antagonist of that screenplay is the Japanese Yakuza.
Yeah. So it's like a car movie then. A
Yes,
car, yeah.
it involves cars, but it also involves exposing injustice.
Exposing injustice. Yeah. So basically, what I'm trying to say is that you're basically trying to point out is that there's a plot. You have a plot in all the films, but really they're thematically about something bigger than the plot itself.
Yes, because thematic premises are not copyrightable. I believe that the French term is called a scene affair, if I'm pronouncing that correctly.
Yeah. So, but really, when we remember films that are thematically driven, that are about something, right?
True.
Yeah. So we need to have
And
it needs to be about something like
yes,
profound in the sense,
and
right?
that's actually a perfect segue into the third screenplay that is actually my flagship project as on my profile currently. It is called Ab Oceano. Now that is Latin for from the ocean. Doesn't that sound compelling already?
Yeah. Problem of the ocean. And what does that mean?
Uh, ab Oceano. From Latin, it means from the ocean. And the premise of that screenplay, drum roll, a mermaid who was a U.S. Navy SEAL and leads SEAL Team 6 to rescue a kidnapped State Department dignitary, a weapons designer, and an arms dealer. Those are the antagonists. Now, think about it, a mythic character in a world that is grounded, procedural, and rules based.
Yeah, gotcha. So what would be a mermaid's motivation to help out the United States?
Well, the prologue of that script establishes that like it's not about earning medals, it's about being protecting those who cannot protect themselves. But the real thematic core is preserving a secret when you know you have to disappear for good, i.e., faking your death.
Yeah, gotcha. All right, so
Yeah,
you
that
so what motivated you to write screenplays? Like you seem pretty like ambitious and kind of like you're obviously getting things done. So what's your motivation?
well, I'm well. It actually goes back way back when I was a little kid. Like I was constantly glued to the like my family had several DVDs and VHS tapes on the shelf, and whenever school was not a priority, I would simply take one or two or three and just watch them all the way through. Maybe even rewind to a few specific parts I like enjoying without
Yeah.
getting tired out.
So that you got into then what how did you start how did you learn how to write screenplays? Did you take a course? Did you read a book?
Well, well, it's actually multiple ways, but chronologically, it began with a in community college, with towards the a feature screenwriting class that helped me learn the foundations. Only the books by Blake Snyder and several other authors came next. With my knowledge of pre-existing knowledge of film, that is what helped led me to learn the building blocks of a really good story.
Gotcha. And so how long you been writing screenplays for?
Since 2019, which is 7.5 years as of this upcoming 4th of July. But I did not find my singular voice and the lane in which I want to tell stories until 3 years ago.
Okay. And so the ones that are not written yet, you're just kind of like toying with right now? That you just kind of you've written half of it or
Well, I've finished the first acts and have been frequently polishing them to ensure a good submission towards the Chicago Feedback Film Festival is met with more strengths and less
yeah,
weaknesses. That goes the same on the subsequently on the black list.
gotcha. So you're do you have like a certain pattern of like a routine of writing? Like do you write like every day? Do you write a certain amount of pages every day or do you write when you are motivated to write something?
Well, it begins with the motivation. I gotta have, I just to simply put, I'm constantly fishing in a tornado where the game is golden ideas that put together a great story that is worth telling. That's the metaphor I use.
Yeah. So then okay, so you do you write every day?
Yes, in the mornings, or if I'm back from my job, after I put most of the energy in.
Gotcha. When you like that's your like that this is your main motivation it seems like.
That is correct.
Seizing on the
Bless you.
truth. Okay. So the great script, I like this one a lot. It's a nice little I like the title as well. How would you describe it? Kind of like a sports romance or romantic
Uh,
drama?
mm, Romantic drama in the backdrop of sports.
Yeah. Of the elitist tennis clubs of today, right?
Yes, instead of the larger scale US Open environment.
Yeah, exactly. This is where it gets started. This is where they start all these kids, right?
Yep.
It's crazy how many they work like they're on these prodigies are on the tennis court like 5 6 hours a day, and they're working
Yeah.
out and they're like watching videos and like they're this is their job, right?
Yeah. And I don't know if you've heard, but Serena Williams herself is back on the court. She's made a comeback today.
Yeah, we'll see on Wimbledon, right? We'll see what happens, right?
Yep. And
So
that is the suspense that the audience would be hooked with, like who will win, who will not.
yeah,
But
do you have a favorite sports movie?
pardon me. Well, it wasn't until recently that I decided to consider Friday Night Lights, and after I watched it, yes, that is the sport movie I want to rewatch over and over again.
Did you watch a TV show as well?
I'm just starting to watch that.
Oh yeah, okay. It's on Netflix now, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, that's yeah, it's a soap opera. It's people liked it, right? So
Mhm.
yeah,
And the final episode would have aired like 15 years ago, almost.
yeah.
Or,
But that's what people do, right? They go back, look at like Breaking Bad or whatever, Mad Men or
yeah,
Sopranos, or everybody goes back
yeah,
and watches those shows, right?
yeah. And to answer one of the questions is in between my day job, my days off, and several other obligations in life, it took me 1 whole year in total to write it.
To write Sadie in the Summer
Yes,
Surf. Yeah, that makes sense.
including the revisions and polishes.
Yeah. Well, all right, man. Well, I appreciate your time. Fantastic. I'm motivated by everything that you do. You seem like you're a pretty ambitious guy, so I'm sure we'll talk again soon.
Oh, I hope so too. I fingers crossed one of my those scripts I told you about does get selected in the near future and
Yeah,
in the next few months, given that's how it works.
cool. All right, man. Well, let's talk soon. I appreciate your time.
Yep. Happy 4th of July and happy 250th anniversary to America as well.
Yeah, it's coming up, right? As
Yep.
per this podcast, I think it's next week, right? So
All right.
cool. All right, man.
Well, peace
Have a good
out.
one.